Welcome to AI Unraveled, the podcast that takes you on a deep dive into the ever-evolving world of AI. I'm your host, and just a quick reminder before we get started, if you're finding these deep dives helpful, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It really does make a difference, especially if you're listening on Apple.
And I'm the AI expert here to help guide us through today's landscape.
Ready to jump into a fascinating couple of days in AI?
Absolutely. March 24th and 25th, 2025. 2 days, a ton of news. What really stood out to me was the sheer amount of ground covered in such a short time. It's incredible how fast things are moving.
It really is, and we've got a really interesting mix to cover today. We'll be looking at how companies are trying to cut costs on their AI infrastructure, some really exciting advancements in robotics that are getting closer and closer to, well, real biological movement, and of course, the always evolving world of AI models themselves. Plus, a look at some significant shifts in regulation.
There's a lot to unpack, but we'll break it down into those key signals so you can see where things are heading.
Exactly. Consider this your shortcut to understanding the big picture without getting lost in the day-to-day noise. So let's start with something that's always on everyone's mind: cost.
Okay, so our sources highlighted a really clever strategy by Ant Group, which is Alibaba's fintech arm. They've developed a hybrid approach to their AI hardware using a mix of chips from U.S. companies like NVIDIA and Chinese manufacturers. And the result? A pretty impressive 50% reduction in the cost of both training their AI, which, as you know, is that intensive initial learning phase, and inference, which is the cost of actually using the trained AI to do stuff.
50%. So basically cutting their costs in half. That's huge. Do you think this could lead to more companies being able to develop AI, democratizing AI development? I mean, smaller companies who couldn't afford it before, could they now have access to serious AI capabilities?
That's definitely one of the most interesting possibilities here. Ant Group's approach is like a blueprint for other companies, especially those dealing with all the complexities of global trade and technology regulations. They're not just saving money. They're showing how to balance high performance with compliance in a really challenging geopolitical environment. And yeah, this could definitely lower the barrier to entry for a lot of players, maybe even sparking a whole new wave of innovation across different industries.
That makes a lot of sense. All right, let's shift gears from the world of silicon and computing costs to something a little more, well, tangible: robots. MIT researchers have come up with something pretty cool.
Oh yeah, they call them scamp actuators. And essentially, they're artificial muscles that mimic the human iris. Think about how the iris expands and contracts quickly and efficiently. That's what these actuators can do. And they're really energy efficient and designed to be produced on a large scale.
Artificial irises for robots. So how does mimicking something so intricate in the human body actually translate to practical benefits for robots?
Well, it's about moving beyond those clunky mechanical movements to something more like the fluid, adaptable motion we see in nature, more biological. These actuators could mean incredibly lifelike and responsive prosthetics, giving users finer and more intuitive control. And imagine search and rescue robots navigating disaster zones with more agility and a gentler touch. It could be a game changer in delicate situations.
So basically, we're talking about robots that can interact with the world and us in a more natural way, whether it's in healthcare, warehouses, or even our homes. That's incredible. And speaking of more capable robots, it sounds like China is making some serious moves in humanoid robots.
Definitely. Agibot, a company based in Shanghai, is aiming to produce 5,000 humanoid robots in 2025. They're directly challenging Tesla's Optimus project, and they're getting a lot of support, both in terms of investment and from the government. Their focus is on practical applications in industry and services, so robots for manufacturing, logistics, maybe even healthcare support.
So not just impressive demos, but robots actually working in the real world. What does this increased competition mean for, well, how quickly we'll see these kinds of robots everywhere?
That's a great question. This really highlights the global race for advanced robotics. China's strong push could mean we see these robots much sooner than we thought. For our listeners, this could mean changes in a lot of industries: how things are manufactured, how goods are moved around, even the kind of care you might receive in a hospital.
Wow. It's a lot to think about. And on that note, we also saw Alibaba unveil an AI model called LHM, which can create animated 3D avatars from just a single image. That seems like another interesting development in their overall AI strategy, especially when it comes to visual stuff.
Absolutely. It seems they are really investing heavily in all areas of AI.
Speaking of AI and how it's used, Dallas is aiming to become a model city for AI adoption. That's a pretty ambitious goal.
Yeah, it is. Dallas City Manager Kim Tolbert has said they want to lead the way in how cities use AI. They're already using it in a few areas, like automating some of those boring administrative tasks to free up city workers, making city services more efficient for residents, and even exploring ways to enhance public safety.
That all sounds promising, especially in terms of efficiency and better services for people. But taking a step back, what's the bigger picture here? What does it mean for a city like Dallas to embrace AI so wholeheartedly?
Well, Dallas could become a real-world example, a blueprint for how other cities can integrate AI into their planning and management. Their successes and even their failures will be valuable lessons for cities around the world that are trying to modernize and improve their services. It's a fascinating experiment in smart governance in action.
It really is. All right, let's move from citywide AI initiatives to something a little more focused on the digital world, cybersecurity. Microsoft has launched something called Security Copilot. What is that? Some kind of high-tech assistant for cybersecurity professionals.
Exactly. It's a set of AI-powered tools designed to help cybersecurity teams do their jobs better. It's built on OpenAI's GPT models, combined with Microsoft's knowledge of cyber threats. The goal is to help security teams spot threats faster, understand those threats more deeply, and then respond more quickly and efficiently.
So, not replacing humans, but making them better at what they do. What kind of things can it actually do?
Well, it can analyze tons of data to help prioritize the most urgent risks. It can summarize complex security incidents into easy-to-understand reports, which saves analysts a lot of time. And it can even create scripts to automate some of the initial steps in responding to an attack.
And why is that important?
Well, think about it. Cyber threats are getting more and more complex, and there just aren't enough skilled cybersecurity professionals to go around. Tools like Security Copilot could be essential for companies to strengthen their defenses, reduce the workload on their security teams, and ultimately improve their ability to respond to attacks in real time.
It really feels like a constant race to stay ahead of the bad guys, doesn't it? Okay, let's shift our focus to the core technology itself, the AI models. We've got some interesting developments to discuss from both OpenAI and Alibaba. Where should we start?
Let's start with OpenAI. They've had a bit of a shakeup internally. Sam Altman is moving to focus more on research, new products, stepping back from the day-to-day running of the company. Brad Lightcap, who is the chief operating officer, is now in charge of global operations and partnerships. And this comes after a few senior researchers left the company.
Interesting. So, what's the bigger takeaway here? What does this leadership shift at a major AI company like OpenAI tell us?
It could mean OpenAI is growing up, becoming more mature as an organization. By separating Altman's visionary role from the day-to-day stuff, they might be aiming for a more sustainable structure as they compete with other giants like Meta and Google. It also suggests that Altman wants to put his energy back into the technical side of things, pushing the boundaries of what AI can do.
Makes sense. We also got an update from Sam Altman himself about some more internal leadership changes, with Mark Chen becoming the chief research officer and Brad Lightcap's role as COO expanding even further. It seems like they're positioning themselves for growth.
Yes, these leadership changes signal that OpenAI is committed to pushing the boundaries of AI research and development.
Okay, now Alibaba also has some news on the AI model front with their Qwen 2.5 VL32B. What is that exactly?
So it's a relatively smaller multimodal AI model, only 32 billion parameters. But what's really interesting is that it's reportedly outperforming some of the larger models in certain tasks, like mathematical reasoning and understanding the connection between images and text. It's particularly good at multi-step reasoning, which makes it ideal for situations where resources are limited and speed is key.
Alibaba seems to be focusing on making powerful AI more accessible, right? More efficient and easier to use.
Precisely. Their strategy seems to be about empowering the open-source AI community by offering highly capable models that are also more cost-effective to run. This could lead to more businesses and developers, especially in Asia, adopting these models as a strong alternative to the resource-intensive models coming from the US.
And they've even open-sourced an instruction-tuned version of this model called Qwen 2.5 VL32B Instruct, which they claim is even better at math and visual understanding. So they're putting their money where their mouth is, so to speak.
Absolutely. By open sourcing their models, they're encouraging wider adoption and contributing to the advancement of the entire field of AI.
Competition breeds innovation, right? And speaking of competition, DeepSeek has quietly released an upgraded version of their V3 model, DeepSeek V30324. What's the big deal with this one?
Well, they didn't make a huge fuss about it, but the reported improvements in reasoning and coding are pretty significant. Benchmarks suggest it's now a serious contender, up there with OpenAI and Anthropic in terms of performance.
So the race to build the best AI model is really heating up.
Absolutely. DeepSeek's advancements show how competitive this landscape is becoming. Everyone's pushing to create more sophisticated AI tools that can handle increasingly complex problems, from advanced logic to coding. And ultimately, this benefits everyone working in AI by giving them more powerful tools to work with.
More tools, more possibilities. We also have news from a newcomer making waves in AI image generation, Reeve.
Reeve has just launched Reeve Image 1.0,
Yeah.
and it's getting a lot of attention because of how accurately it can render text within AI-generated images.
Hmm.
This has been a real challenge for a lot of models, so Reeve's success here has put them right at the top of industry benchmarks. Early user feedback also suggests it's really good at handling complex prompts and scenes with lots of characters, making it a strong competitor to models like Google's Imagen 3 and Midjourney V6.1.
So, accurate text in AI images, that's a big deal for creative professionals, right?
Huge. Reeve's arrival shows how quickly things are moving in AI image generation. Creators now have more precise tools to bring their ideas to life, especially when those ideas involve incorporating text seamlessly. And we can't forget about Google, who are busy rolling out their Project Astra features for Gemini. These add advanced visual perception, live video analysis, and even screen reading capabilities. The evolution of these multimodal AI systems is just astounding.
It's mind-blowing how fast things are developing.
Oh.
All right, let's turn our attention to the regulatory landscape. The European Commission is taking a strong stance against Meta. What's going on there?
Yeah, so the European Commission is getting ready to hit Meta with a pretty hefty fine, over $1 billion, because of their pay or consent advertising model. Basically, they're saying this model, where users either have to pay for an ad-free experience or agree to have their data tracked for personalized ads, isn't fair and limits user choice. They believe it violates the Digital Markets Act, or DMA.
$1 billion fine. That's a big deal. What could this mean for the rest of the tech industry?
It could be a landmark decision in how tech is regulated globally. It might change how companies use and profit from user data in the EU, and we can probably expect similar practices at other big companies like Google and TikTok to come under scrutiny. It sets a precedent for how regulators might interpret and enforce these digital market rules going forward.
It sounds like the EU is serious about protecting user privacy and ensuring fair competition in the digital space.
Absolutely. This decision could have ripple effects across the entire tech industry, not just in Europe, but globally.
Speaking of big tech, we have Alibaba's chairman, Joe Tsai, voicing concerns about a potential bubble in AI data center construction. That's an interesting take, coming from someone so involved in tech.
Right. He was speaking at an investment summit, and he basically said that the rapid growth of AI data centers might be outpacing the actual demand for AI computing power. He's calling for a more measured approach to investing in this infrastructure. Don't just build for the sake of building, make sure the demand is there.
So he's worried we might be overinvesting in AI infrastructure, which could lead to wasted resources if the demand doesn't catch up.
That's the gist of it. He's concerned that all the excitement around AI might be driving too much investment in infrastructure, kind of like what happened in past tech bubbles, where investment got ahead of real-world use cases. He's urging investors to be cautious and make sure the growth of data centers is actually driven by real needs and practical AI applications.
It's a valid concern. It's important to ensure that the infrastructure development is aligned with the actual growth and adoption of AI technologies.
Absolutely. And on a related note, we also learned about Reed Hastings, the co-founder of Netflix, making a $50 million donation to his alma mater to set up an initiative focused on researching the risks and societal impact of AI.
It's great to see leaders in the tech industry recognizing the importance of responsible AI development and investing in understanding its potential impact on society. Now, let's talk about the cutting edge of AI development. Progress in AI reasoning. The ARC Prize is back with a new, even tougher benchmark called ARC AGI-2.
Yes, and it's designed to really push the limits of AI reasoning. The initial results are pretty surprising. It seems that pure language models are scoring 0 on this test, and even the best public AI reasoning systems are only getting single-digit scores.
Wow, so even with all the amazing progress we've seen in other areas, true human-like reasoning is still a big hurdle for AI.
It really highlights the ongoing efforts to improve the fundamental reasoning abilities of these models. We've come a long way in things like language and image generation, but true artificial general intelligence with the ability to reason like humans is still a significant challenge.
It's definitely something to keep an eye on. So, to recap for our listeners, in just these 2 days, we've seen major developments in cost saving AI hardware, exciting progress in robotics, continuous evolution of AI models, important shifts in regulation, and a stark reminder of the challenges we still face in achieving true AI reasoning.
It's a fast-paced and incredibly dynamic field, and these snapshots from March 2025 give us a glimpse into the speed and breadth of progress happening across the entire AI ecosystem.
And if you're enjoying these deep dives and want to help us keep bringing them to you for free, please consider making a donation. You can find the links in the show notes. Every bit helps us keep exploring this fascinating world of AI.
Absolutely. And if you're looking to reach a large and engaged audience of professionals interested in technology and innovation, consider advertising with us. It's a great way to spread the word about your business or service.
And on that note, here's something to think about until our next deep dive. Given the rapid advancements we discussed today, especially in areas like multimodal AI and the early stages of improved reasoning, are there any fundamental assumptions we hold about the limitations of today's AI models that we might need to reconsider sooner than we think?
It's a thought-provoking question. The field is advancing so rapidly that what seems impossible today might become reality tomorrow.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI. We'll be back soon with more insights and analysis. Until then, stay curious.
And keep exploring the possibilities of AI.
See you next time.
Goodbye.